Where we left off yesterday. Okay. Yesh sipurim ani omer lechem. I'm telling you right now, the stories in Perek Chelek are out of this world. The perfect Magid shiur. You saw the ads. The Magid's shiur.
אתה אומר, אולי יותר טוב, או פחות טוב משל הרב גולד. או שהרב גולד אומר את זה,
Yoim Echad, yeah, once upon a time, we're starting the perfect opening over here at Tzadi Hey Yom Aleph. Today's daf is Yoim Echad, by the story of David HaMelech. It's literally the first wide line on Tzadi Hey Yom Aleph. The very first wide line, the last word on the first wide line. Yoim Echad, Nofek Liskoir Bazoi, Lishkoir Bazoi. David HaMelech went out to hunt. Also Satan, the Satan came, Ve'id Melekatavia, and appeared to him like a deer. You got it? The very last word, it starts on the last word, the first wide line. Come, Pesach, right over here. Come. Huh? Yom Echad. Once upon a time, one day. Yeah. There's a Gemara, the blue Gemara on the table, it's Sanhedrin right there. Is that the right daf? Let's see. Right there, there's a thick blue one right there. You got it. I think we need more Gemaras. Okay. Zuk the Heilige Gemara. It's amazing. You'll learn some more Torah. Let's go. Huh? You're a good looking guy. Hey, and I can give you a shout out for sure. Okay. Yom Echad, one day, David HaMelech goes out. Nafek Liskoir Bazoi. He went out hunting. Also, Satan, the Idmele Katavia. The Satan appeared to him like a deer. Pasak be'geir v'lamache. So David HaMelech shot an arrow, and he couldn't catch the deer. So Mashchi Adamte le'eretz Plishtim. So the deer runs, which is the Satan, disguised as a deer. David HaMelech runs after the deer to try to catch it, and he leads him to Plishtim. Kedechazia Yishbi benoiv. Now Yishbi is the brother of Goliath, the son of Arpa. He's sitting in Noiv, which is in the Plishtim area, and he sees David HaMelech. He says, "Holy moly, Omar, hainu hayde katlas leGoliath. This guy killed my brother Goliath." Kafse kamte. Right away grabbed David, caught him, cuffed him, and sandwiched him. And Oisve, he tried to put him, Veshadya Tuse Bebadya, put him in an olive press. Why? He wanted the beam of the olive press as they pressed down on the olives to smash him, to squash him. It's Abed Le Nisa. Of course, a miracle happens. It's David HaMelech. Mochele Arim Betusei, and the ground beneath him opens up, it lowers, and he's able to protect himself from the Cairo. This is what the pasuk in Tehillim says. David HaMelech says, "Tarchiv tza'adi tachtoi." You widened the ground underneath my steps, v'loyamadu karsuloi, and I didn't fall. Hahu yoyma, says the Gemara that day. Apan yedamali shabsahava. It was erev Shabbos, mamish close to Shabbos Kodesh. Avishai ben Tzruya have a k'choyef reishei, and Avishai ben Tzruya, he was actually, who was he? He was the nephew of David HaMelech.
He was the
son of his sister. Okay, and he was the brother of Yoav ben Tzruya. Yeah, the general.
They were all
related. Havakachayv Reishei. He was washing his head lekavet Shabbos ba'ar begarva demaya with 40 soft water. Chazinu kismei dama. He saw all of a sudden spots of blood. Ikad Amri, they said, Asa Yoina Itrif Kamei. A Yoina flapped its wings really hard until it bled, and a drop of that blood went into the water of Avishai ben Tzruya's bath. Omar, he says, Knesset Yisrael Yoina Msila. He says, why? This is a sign. We don't suspect for superstitions. We're not Gaira superstitions. They say he was taking it as a siman ba'alma. He wasn't taking it as a superstition. He said, listen, it's happening. Knesset Yisrael is Leyoina. We're compared to a dove. Why are we compared to a dove, by the way? The Marshal says because a dove is the only bird that only mates with its min. So the Yaina, Klal Yisrael, stays in its only with Hashem. Shenemer kanfi nechba bekosef. Shemamer David Malka Yisrael betzar shari. So you see from here that David Melech Yisrael must be in pain. That's why there's blood. Also, say he ran to David's house. V'lo yashchen, he didn't meet him there. He didn't see him there. Omar Savisha said, Tanan. Ein roich v'nal susoi, ve'ein yoish v'nal kisoi, ve'ein mishtamshe b'shavita b'shas asakana, mai. What's the halacha b'shas asakana? You're not allowed to use the king's Ferrari, right? You can't use the king's horse. You can't use the king's chair. You can't use the king's scepter. But what about shas asakana if the king is in danger? So you came to ask a shaila, mai, can I go and use his horse to get there fast to save his life because he's in danger? So the Gemara also showed b'midrasha amrle b'shas asakana shaper dami avadi you're allowed to. Rabbi Feinstein in a tshuva to Reb David to his son deals with this Gemara and he says how could it be that he had to come ask a shaila pikuach nefesh? He has to go ask a shaila if he could use the king's horse. The guy asks a shaila on Shabbos, right? If a guy on Shabbos Kodesh, the guy's choking, he runs to the roof to ask, can I be machal Shabbos for him? You say the guy's a fool, right? Avadi go be machal Shabbos pikuach nefesh. So Avisha Mitzri is coming to Bezdin to ask a shaila when David HaMelech's life is in danger. What's going on over there? So I want to taina could be because he didn't know for sure. It was only the dam of the yaina that gave him a simon. So to rely on that, he needed a shaila, maybe. But Rabbi Feinstein says that he didn't want just a heter. He wanted to know whether he mamish it's no'eviyah to do that. Shaper dummy, so that's the Lashon Shaper dummy. They told him not only is it stam, it's like a heter, a loophole. Shaper dummy, this is beautiful for the king. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, I'm not saying it over exactly right because it doesn't answer the question the way I'm saying it over. But Al Kalponim, Rav Moshe is ma'ira this shaila. Rachvel appeared to come v'azal. He really took the horse of David HaMelech. He began riding fast, kaftzeli ara, in the direction where David HaMelech was. He didn't know where David HaMelech was. But the horse took him there, kaftzeli ara, a miracle happened. He had kfitzas haderech, and he came to Plishtim. Ba'ad the Kamasagi, as he is riding on the horse, chazye la arpa ime. He sees Arpa. Who's Arpa? The mother of Avishai, right? Now, the Havas of Yishbi, I'm sorry, excuse me. The mother of Yishbi. Of Gaias also, yeah. Yeah. Was it the same Rus and Arpa? Was it that Arpa?
Yes.
Wow, she was an old lady then. She was still alive. Wow, it's unbelievable. She left Naomi, and look what ended up happening from her. It's unbelievable. She was not Davik and Naomi, and now Rus's grandson is killing Arpa. Aha. The Havas Navla. Anyway, she was knitting.
That's the Gemara says. The Gemara says the curse is that your grandchildren are going to kill.
Are going to kill the Gemara. Where's the Gemara?
The Gemara in Yavamas, I think.
Gemara in Yavamas.
And Zayn maybe somewhere.
Started the daf with Baba Matthias. So okay, we'll get to as we go around.
Yavamas talks about Rus a bunch.
Oh yeah, so the Gemara over there says that her grandchildren, his grandchildren, will be loichem with each other. Amazing. The Havas Novela, she was knitting kichazise when she saw Avishai pesakti lefilcha shadise ilove. She took her knitting needle and she threw it in the direction of Avishai to murder Avishai. Kitzer, she missed. Savra lamikli, she tried killing him, but she missed. It fell by the feet of Avishai. Amrulei, so she pretended like she just dropped it by mistake. She threw it by mistake. She said, Alam, young man, Aisali pelech, throw me back my knitting needle. So he says, no problem. Paske beresh marchai, threw it back into her brain and killed her. V'katla, and he killed her. Anyway, so now Arpa is dead. This is the point of the story. Kadchazia Yishbi b'Noiv. Now he's coming and riding with his horse after killing Yishbi's mother. He's coming to Noiv. Omar, so Yishbi sees now Avishai, and he says, Hashtahava betrain. Now I have 2 against 1. You have David HaMelech, you have Avishai Mitzruya. The Katli, now it's 2 against 1. I'm overnumbered. I'm outnumbered. They'll overpower me. Gemara says, Paske le David le'ela. So immediately, he grabbed David HaMelech. I guess he was in the base of Abad over there, in the olive press. He grabbed him out of there, and he threw him up in the air. And he put his sword into the ground, and he was hoping, Omar, and he said, Nepal Allah v'niktal, he'll fall onto the sword, and they'll be killed. Omar, Avishai Shem, so Avishai seeing David HaMelech, David Melech Yisrael, in the ear about to fall onto the sword, and what does he say? He utters the Shem Hashem, and what happens? He stays, he freezes. Yeah, he's between heaven and earth. Rav Tzvi, we are mamish toward the bottom of Tzadi Hey, Amid Aleph.
Why do you
No, I'm
want to kill
famous.
him
I'm in
like
the
that?
shiur online.
Yeah.
My name is Rich.
You're famous without it.
Why do you want to kill him like that? Throw him up in the air. What's the point of that? Why don't you just take a sword and try to kill him? Why do you throw him up in the air and
He wanted to show off. He wanted to show Avishai, look, I'm not, it's an arrogant move. A guy going Hagba, like this. So, V'nei Melei. The Gemara asks another question. The Gemara says, why didn't David HaMelech say the name of Hashem himself? Why did he need Avishai to say it? The Gemara says, because somebody who is imprisoned can't take himself out of prison. It's a saying, it's a phrase, where we find it in the Gemara. A person is sick, right? The Gemara says Rabbi Yochanan was sick, and Rav Chizda came to visit him. We're on Brachas. The Gemara says that he had to. He says, "Put your hand on me and heal me," and he healed him. Why couldn't he do it himself? There it is. Ein chavish mater atzm beis asur, and you need outside help. Rashi says over here, the reason is interesting. Rashi says, "Ein daite mechuvenes loimer Hashem." David HaMelech is midair. Yeah, mavuhal. He's scared. He's not in the moment. He doesn't have the presence of mind. Doesn't have the yishuv adas. So therefore, so the emes is a great question. A great question. So the emes is, that's why it's recommended that when a person is sick, he should go to a chacham, he should go to Talmudic chachamim, to Rabbanim, ask his friends to daven for him. Of course you should daven for yourself. Absolutely daven for yourself. You should try to daven for yourself. But a lot of times, there's a kitrig. Another reason why Ein Chavish Mater Atzmi Sasur, and the Mefarshim say, why do you think a person's in prison in the first place? Why is there a machla in the first place? Why is there trouble in the first place? There it says there's a kitrig. There's a midas adin that's mekatrig on this person. So you need somebody else. Somebody doesn't have that midas adin metucha olav that's hovering over him to take you out and save you. So a couple of reasons why David HaMelech couldn't say the shame of Hashem himself.
I need this tomorrow.
Yes.
I think it's good now. I think it's a little.
That's why it's Lashon Rabbim.
That's there's two sides. One is to be misspelled the other is to be misspelled for other people. So one is misspelled with someone
Beautiful.
else.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Rabbi Epstein one time told me that, he went with his father to visit Rabbi Yashiv.
Yeah.
Before he had the back surgery.
Okay.
It was in such a pain, and the time for davening, he didn't daven. And the reason they asked him, he says, אין לי יישוב הדעת להתפלל. התפילה שלו היה כנראה מכוון.
Yeah.
והכאבים נועדו...
This is what it is. This is what Rashi is saying. The person is in trouble. A person is facing a difficulty. Ein da'ato mechuvenes loimer Hashem. So that's why Avishai needed to say it. Says the Gemara, Omer Lai, Avishai said to David HaMelech, my boy Yisachar, so tell me, how did you end up over here, mid-ear, with Yishbi trying to kill you? Omer Lai, Hachi Omer Lai Kutche Berichu. He told him the whole conversation he had with Hashem. V'Hachi Adrili, Hashem said, Admosai Tomin Ovoin Zebiyotcho. We saw yesterday, Hashem said that because Noiv Ira Kahana was killed through you, you have to be punished. So either it's your children or you. Which one do you want? I told Hashem, rather kill me and save my children. So he told him the whole conversation. Omeleh Avishai said, you didn't ask properly. Afoich tzloisich. Turn your tefillas around. Rather, you get saved. Bar Barach Kirul Lazabin. Let your grandson sell wax. Wax was the lowest profession at the time. It sticks to your clothing. Let your grandson sell wax. The atloy tetztair, and you shouldn't be suffering like this. So Amar Lei, so David, mid-ear, hovering over there, trying to escape. He says, help me. I can't daven properly right now. Help me to turn the tefillah around, that instead of me being killed, my my descendants should be wiped out. It says, Avisha ben Tzruya helped him. What do you mean he helped him? He helped him daven. Omar Avishai shame. So Avishai said another shame. And then he landed farther away from Yishbi, and they started running. Have a karod of Basrayu. So Yishbi started chasing them. Kimote Kubi. When they came to a place called Kubi, Omri, they said, Kumbei, let's go and fight Yishbi. Enough, where he's chasing us. So Gemara says they were still afraid. But Kimote Beitrei, when they came to a place called Beitrei, Omri, Beitrei Guriyim Katlu ila Aryeh. Do you think that two young lions can kill an older lion? Yishbi is much stronger than both of them. Omri lays, David and Avishai said to Yishbi, they came up with a plan. How did they beat Yishbi? They said, Zil ishtakach la'or pe'imach bekivra. Go find your mother in her grave. So as soon as they said that, what happened was, ki atkir leishmo de'imei, as soon as they mentioned his mother's name, kochash chelei vekatlei. He weakened, and they were able to kill him. Oz nishbu anche David l'leimer, so the staff, the army, the administration of David HaMelech made a shavua at that point, and they said, Lo teitze oid yotan l'machama. You cannot go out without Secret Service. You need protection. Lo yisachabes ner Yisrael, and we're not going to allow you to extinguish ner Yisrael. Mo, we're mamish starting. Where are we over here? We're starting 2 lines in the bottom of Tzadi Hey Yom Aleph. Tanu Rabbanan.
He had Secret Service, Giborim.
What is that?
He had his own.
He had. They didn't want it to go out.
He had his own special army. They call him a Giborim. He didn't even mention their name.
He didn't even mention their name. No.
They used to call them a Giborim.
Giborim, yeah.
You know, in the Sefer Malachim, all the time it says,
strong man.
ויתאבד דוד למים אשר ביהודה, כתוב, והרקיעו הגיבורים. והגיבורים, the herdim, they were next to him, the Secret Service.
Yes.
You know?
Tanu Rabbanan. Beautiful. Tanu Rabbanan. Shloisha kaftzele ma'aretz. 3 people had kfitzas haderech. Eliezer, Eved Avram, Yaakov Avinu, Avisha Metzruya. Avisha Metzruya Damar. And the story of Avisha Metzruya we just found out, we just learned, that he had kfitzas haderech to save David HaMelech. Eliezer, Eved Avram, Dechsiv. V'ov hayom eloyin. Right, he leaves Avram Avinu in Eretz Yisrael to find a wife for Yitzchak, and he comes that same day to Aram Narayan. So he comes to Syria that day, right? Aram Narayan. So that day, the same day, he could get there. It wasn't 2025. It was 4,000 years ago. How do you arrive so fast? Teretz says yet kfitza derech. Yaakov Avinu, everybody knows this one. Amar Aviv Damarav. Yaakov Avinu, the Chsiva Yetzi, Yaakov Be'eshav V'yelech Harana. We just turned the page. Yaakov left from Be'er Shava to go to Charan. He got to Charan, and then it says he's in Beisel. How did he get to Beisel? Right? So the Gemara says, you know how he got to Beisel after he arrived to Charan? Because when he got to Charan, could it be that I passed by the place where my ancestors prayed? I didn't pray over there. I got to go back. Even the hearer, as soon as he had that thought, right? And he started going back, HaKadosh Baruch Hu performed a miracle, and he had kfitzas haderech miyad vayivga b'makom. He came to this place of Beis El. Davar acher in Pegia l'tfila. Pegia, the lashon Pegia is davening. Shenev va'atel t'pal b'adam b'zev l'tzia ba'adam rina tfila v'al tifka bi. So you see, Pegia is one of the languages, one of the shaynas of tfila. Vayolan sham kivo hashemesh bosed etzali boile meheder. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu tzadik zeh bo lebeis meloini. And Yipoter b'leilina miyad ba'Hashem. Hashem says, he comes to my hotel to come pray here, and he's not going to rest over here. So Hashem right away made the sun set earlier than usual, and this way he was forced to sleep in that place, and that's where he had the dream. When he fought with the Malach, it says the sun rose for Yaakov Avinu. So this Shemesh, he had a personal relationship with him. That's why Yizrach lo Shemesh, because the Shemesh was the one that was set earlier in the day, earlier in his life. When he came to Beisel, the Shemesh had a personal, it said earlier. So that Shemesh was Zarcha Ba'avuroi when he needed the refuah after the Malach hit him in the Gid Anasha. Lamaisa, somebody reached out to me today. Incredible story. His name is Eliyahu Ilani. This guy's name is Eliyahu Ilani. He says his mother was praying at the Ponevezher Beis HaKvaros in Bnei Barak a couple of months ago. He sent me some photos. And she was praying at the Chazon Ish is buried there, the Stipler is buried there, Rav Chaim Kanievsky is buried there, Rav Shach is buried over there, all the tzaddikim, the Rosh Hashivas. And she was davening Shemoneh Esrei. She stepped outside, into the road to daven. You're not allowed to pray Shemoneh Esrei mamash by the kever, so she walked off to the side where there's a little path. An Arab worker was there and saw her in the path. She was in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, took his truck, ran her over, killed her, and she died. She was killed in the Ponevezher cemetery. So,
When was that?
This was a couple of months ago. So the kids, Eliyahu told me, he went to Rav Bolag. He's the head of the cemetery, the Beis HaChaim in Ponevezher. He said, my mother was killed in the cemetery while she was praying. She deserves to be buried here. She must be buried right over here. So he says, En lanu makom, we don't have space. This cemetery has been full for years. He says, space or not, we'll bury her in the path. She's got to be buried right over here. So he said, let me make a couple of calls. He calls back Elio Ilani. He says, you wouldn't believe it, there's a guy who actually had a plot. He's willing to back out and give it to you. For your mother, you could take it. They come to the cemetery to do the levaya and to bury her. They take a look at the plot. They take a look at the matzeva right next to that open plot, the single plot that was open, and they see their name is Tova Pancher. That's the woman that's buried there. And they turn white. They're like, what? Tova Pancher? How could it be? On her matzeva it says, she was a divorced woman. She died without any children. She never had kids. And she asks people to daven at her kever. Who's Tova Pancher? Years earlier, this woman was killed in the Beis HaChaim in Panovich. Her name is Esther Ilani. She befriended Tova Pancher. Okay? And she invited her for Shabbos. Every Shabbos, every Yom Tov, it's a single woman, alone in the world. And one day she tells Tova Pancher, she says, Tova, we got to make sure that after 120, you get buried in a cemetery where people are praying. So this way you'll have people to come pray at your kever. She says, don't worry about it. Esther says, no, we got to make sure. She mamish took her under her wing. She says, I'm going to go to Rav Bolag and I'm going to get you a plot in the Panovich Beis HaChaim.
Wow.
So she goes to Rav Bolag. She fights with Rav Bolag. Says, this woman needs a plot over there. And she gets Tova Pancher a plot and they bury her in the Beis HaChaim. The only plot that opened up for Esther Ilani was right next to Tova Pancher. And when they put the Akoma Samatzeva, you wouldn't believe it. I show you pictures. They take a look at the date. They both passed away on Chof Tevis. The same exact day, a year apart, but the same exact day. So he was telling me, he said, you think an Arab murdered her, she died. Truth is, her time was up. The Zohar says a person goes to wherever he goes to, Raglov Malicha Soy, he goes so to die in the place that he's supposed to die in, on the day that he's supposed to die. And how he goes, it looks like, somebody shortened somebody's life, but it's all part of a master plan. And sometimes Hashem picks up the curtain, right? So Kfitzat HaDerech, you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be there. Wherever you go, Hamakom Asher Ata Oimad Olav Admas Kodesh. Chafetz Chaim says it's a holy ground wherever you are, whether it's Kfitzat HaDerech or not. Okay, weiter. Zu the Gemara. Menolan de Kol Zayar de David. How do we know that the children of David were completely destroyed? Because now David switched his tefillah, right? He went from trying to be saved himself to now having his kids totally being wiped out. So the Gemara says, is kol zera hamamlocha. Gemara says, not so fast. It sounds like everybody from Beis David was killed. But Yoash was a descendant of David, and he was left over. So l'chayra, so one descendant was left over. It wasn't Mida Keneged Mida, right? Gans Noivira Kahanim, all their descendants were wiped out. That's why David HaMelech had to face punishment. But he had one left over. It says, Hasam Nami Ishtayr. It's noch a mazel to David that in Noivira Kahanim there was also one Evyosar, the Chsiv, Vayimoled ben Echad Lechemelech ben Achita v'Shmoy Evyosar, and Amar Avid Amar Rav. Ilumoled Ishtayr Evyosar Lechemelech ben Achita. If not for that child of Noivira Kahanim that was left over, I don't know if it's Meshuach Melchama. I don't know Navi.
He was in Moshach Shlomo, Amelech.
Oh yeah? That's very cool. Okay. So here we have, if not for Avyasar, then L'nishtayr Mezayir Shel David, Sar Depalit. Omer Avidim Rav, Bo Lim Senchev Rosha, Barbo V'chamisha Elef Ish B'nei Melachim Yoish B'kroida Shel Zav Iman Shigloinis V'zayin Shmanim Elef Giborim Luv Shesher Yoin Klipa V'shishim Elef Achuzecher V'rotz Mufad V'shar Paroshim. Now the Navi, basically Rav Rav says, he outlines all the numbers. Unbelievable. Chen Bo Alavram V'chein Asidin Lovim Gog Yemogog. V'masnisa Tano Oirich Machaneu Arba Meis Parsi. If you just looked at the length of the army of Sanhedrin, it was 400 parsoros. On the bottom over here it says that's like 600. That's like that's 1,600 kilometers. If you can, I don't know how much is a kala. That's how long the army was as they traveled to Yerushalayim.
1,000 miles.
Wow, 2,000 miles.
1,000 miles.
Is a kilometer less than a mile or more than?
1.2. Right.
Kilometer is a mile.
Okay, so it's
Kilometer,
less.
that's right.
So he says like a
1.6.
1,000 miles.
1,000 miles.
So you think 1,000 miles?
6 kilometers.
From here to New York is how many miles? I just want to.
1.6 kilometers.
Huh?
3,000.
3,000 miles from here to New York? Okay, we're in LA to New York is 3,000 miles. So a third of the way. It's unbelievable. Coast to coast, a third of
Probably New York to Florida, around
New York to Florida.
something like that.
Yeah.
Exaggeration,
Oh, so the morale, yeah, they say it's exaggerated. It's not exactly. The number 400 has some significance here, which is beyond the scope of our conversation. In Parsi, the length of each horse was 40 parsoyes. Sach machaneyu Messiah v'shishim riba alofim. Here the art scroll says it's 2,600,000,000.
2.6.
2.6 million. He says
2.6 billion.
2.6 billion.
Yeah.
Chaser chad -1. The Gemara says -1. The Gemara says boya baya -1. What one? Chaser chad ribuye.
1 billion שם, היה
Or chaser chad alf. It's a guzma. Or chaser chad alf. Chaser ma'a. Chaser ma. Chaser chad. Which one is it? -100 or minus because there are a couple of numbers? Teku. We're not sure. Tanu Rishonim of Besechi. So when they crossed the Jordan River, they crossed the Yarden to get to Yerushalayim. So the Gemara says they crossed in 3 groups. One, the first group, when they crossed the Yarden, so they absorbed a lot of the water from the Yarden into their clothing, and when they swam, they had to swim across it. They also splashed water out of it. So Avri Besechi,
ייבשו את הירדן.
Shenemah v'cholav b'yida shotav avar. Emtsoim, by the time the second group went in, Amtso Avri b'koima. They went in. There wasn't so much water anymore because a lot of the water was spilled, from the first group. So they're able to stand already till their next. The last group, there was no more water left. Right, there was just sand. No more water in the north to drink even. So the Gemara says, Gemara asks, how can you give you the number of 2.6 billion? It's a different number, it's a much smaller number. And that number, the smaller number, that's just the generals. Meaning the best of the best, that was the number of 185,000. That was the number of generals. How did the Malach kill them? Hashem killed them with his hand. Hayod with a hey. Hayod, the famous hand. What's the famous hand? Hayod the hand that's going to, in the future, punish Sanhedrin. Rabbi Shoim with his finger. He. What's he? Extra word. He etzba shasid lo parmas Sanhedrin. Rabbi Yosef, take your sickle, sharpen it, and kill the army of Ashur. It's ready from the 6 days of creation. It was the time to ripen the fruits. It was summer. He zokik lamb was Pesach night, so I guess it was spring, right? When you go out to spread, Gavriel's in charge of ripening the fruits because it's Aish, he's the Malach on fire of heat. So he says, on your way, kill them. As you go out to work, make sure you appear before your enemy, scare him a little bit. Kadosh Baruch Hu breathed into them, and Mesu Shenem v'gam Noshim and Yivoshu. Rabbi Yirmiyah Berabba Omar Kapayim Sofek Lam Hashem clapped his hands and Mesu. That's how the Shenem v'gam Ani Aka Kapel Kapel Choysi Chamosi. And okay, Rabbi Yitzchak Navcham as Naim Gilam Sham Shir Peyachais and Mesu Nemer Meremesechel Nof to Begoyim. They were able to hear the shiur of the Malachim, and they got scared. They were frightened, and that's how they killed. Okay.